Okay, now we have the customers imported in, and here's very basic bare bones. I want to go over some really important, a very, very important thing. Now, it is very vital to save. Let me go to the. Okay, I'm going to go to the database view. I'm going to take a. Here is now the apps, the customer database. Database structure here. It's dead. Now, here's how I would like to recommend. It's really a must to save at minimum. So typically in your system, you're going to have you're going to have customers or clients or whatever on your app, and you're going to have like stuff like first name, last name, full name, this, that, whatever. I very much encourage you to make a separate column for a new not a new column, a new column, a new attribute on your table that's QBD full name and QBD ID. And these are the limits. If you go into the OCD here, the OCD, you'll find how big a character can be. That put those things in, like put those limits in either to your code or right to the column itself, because they'll bite you sometimes. Things will be too big. It's better to get these limits, maybe a validation limit in your app. Well, actually, with these things, I'm going to suggest that these are basically read-only. In fact, and the main thing that I want to get across is like, don't try to use like the first and last name to be like the QBD full name, or some existing column on your app. Actually, let me go and take a look at that XML. Show you what I mean, some of the attributes here. Let's go back up to Jane Doe. So we're talking about this kind of stuff. The full name is the unique name in QuickBooks. A lot of times you'll see them switched around, like it'll be Doe, comma, Jane. And you have to treat that as a super important thing that you're storing on your system pristine, meaning it's not a user editable field on your system, like I mentioned, like a first and last name. It's the unique identifier. So when you send an invoice, you're going to have to send the full name in your customer reference for the invoice, or it won't work. And if you don't have them in line between the two apps, you're going to have a huge headache on your hands. I also save the list ID, although it's not as important. I do use it for a query. It's not as important if you're coming from QuickBooks Online. The IDs for a customer are the most important thing. You have to have those. You have to reference the IDs. In QuickBooks Desktop, the full name is the main thing. You can send the list ID, just like in online, you can send the full name as a reference. But this is what is the main thing, is the full name. Full name for customer, because full name accounts for potential sub-customers. What is a sub-customer? If you're not aware, I have two apps going on here. Anything that has a colon means a sub-customer, meaning there's a parent, Dunning's Pool Depot, and then the Littleton store is the sub-customer. All right. Could be very popular. It's pretty popular. You may run into it on your app. So that's why you want to take the full name, because the full name takes that into account. The name doesn't. The name actually can be a duplicate if it has a different parent. I don't want to get too much into that. That's a little bit. In fact, if you just follow my rules, you don't have to think too much about it. But on your app, let's get back. This needs to be a unique key as well. In fact, it should be a unique key on the account. If you're using a multi-tenant app, you should have a unique key on these two. All right, I don't have to worry about QBID, but you put a unique key on that too. If you're going to be using it for queries and stuff like that, it has to be right. Then you got to put a unique key on that as well, and it'll be these two. All right, so there has to be a multi-unique key, and do it in the database. Don't just do it in your code. And if you do those things, and remember, this is read-only. You do not show this to the user, or you can show it to the user. You don't have the user edit it ever. It's read-only on your system to keep the two systems in sync. So you know exactly that this is the customer they intended, and it goes to QuickBooks that way. And if you do that early on, and you do what I advise here, you're going to save so many headaches. So I'm going to keep this video just about that. Because it's so important. You want to go back to it. This is how you want to do your database when you're doing your import in. Like I'm doing my import in code again. Right over here. So I'm bringing in the code. I'm taking out the attributes, the XML, and I'm seeing if I have an existing customer, and I'm using the QBD full name as my identifier, because I know that that's going to be our uniqueness. If not, I update, or if it is, I update the existing customer. If not, I make a new one. All right, simple as that. If you do that, you're going to be in really good shape.